Hi, I'm Therese Swenson, and I'm even wearing two masks today because I want to tell you that it's one thing to wear one when you run in the store for about 10 minutes, but it's another thing if you're passing people in hallways or waiting somewhere. Not everybody has to wear two, but I was just saying if you are concerned that you're going to be somewhere where there's a lot of public, you could try two. Hi. I'm Therese Swenson, and I'm here at the Public Access Station here in Siskiyou County. And we're near the College of the Siskiyous, and this building is the Alvarado building. We're by the ATM kiosk, if that sounds familiar to you, at the south end of town. I always like to invite people to get involved in public access because nowadays journalism is going through many, I want to call them assaults, where they're calling it fake news if you report the truth. So we all need to keep the airwaves open, and we need to have an opportunity to speak out. Here at the Public Access Station, you could do a show on something, and we don't mind if we get both sides of the view. Today I might have a few maybe political comments, and I want to be able to say that it's my opinion, not necessarily the station, but it's really important that we have a voice, all of us. Whether you agree or disagree, it's an opportunity to get involved and have your story or your opinion. And so I just want to encourage people to look at their computers, and if they have an iMovie function, maybe you would like to make your own little short. You could do a little 3-minute short, or try to stay within a half hour or an hour, and that way we can have our programming usually turns on the half hour. In Northern California, we have Cable 15 in Mount Shasta, Dunsmuir, Weed, and in Wairika we have Channel 4, YCTV, Wairika Community Television, and Mount Shasta Mountain Community Television. So we have two different stations in Northern California, but you can find Siskiyou Media Council not only on the web, but we are now visible on YouTube. You can go to YouTube, put in Siskiyou Media Council, and you will see our shows. And I believe the way they do it is the most current one is on top. And we have many different producers here that are producing content, whether it's news out in the rural communities, or if it's Arthur does some interview shows, and Andre does some shows. She used to do the Best of Mount Shasta, and she's now doing shows. So anybody can get involved in public access and tell a story or share a vacation, or maybe you have some good tricks for training pets. And now that everybody's indoor with their pets, they might want to learn a new trick or a way to keep them from jumping on the counter and stealing a cookie. Anyway, if you have a pet and you have some ideas, or that lady that has there's a lady that has a pet school right across from the cemetery in Mount Shasta, and I'd like to invite her to come on down, and I'll do a show with her, and she could maybe tell us how to keep your dog pulling on the leash or something. Now, I do like to remind everybody on Saturday morning, and I think it's on the PBS station, they have a wonderful show about dog training. What's it called? Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name. But on Saturday mornings at 7:30, if you'd like to go to your TV and see what's on local news, they have a show, and each time they teach you a new trick. How to make the dog not bark would be considered a trick to me. Anyway, so public access, I'm inviting you to get involved. Also, I'm involved in, how do I get that level? In Ashland, we have a TV studio through the college up there, which is Southern Oregon University. So that's Rogue Valley Television, rvtv.sou.edu. I might have had a lower third, I don't know. But what it is I brought this just as an example of how the week goes up there. And I'm hoping we have enough content here that we can create a programming block to say to you every Sunday if there was a good sermon or you had a positive message of faith or spirituality, you could put that on. They also have children programming at Saturday mornings. They have music, they have education, they have news and politics on Saturdays. They also run Democracy Now! Every day at 4 o'clock. And I would really love for our public access to run Democracy Now! But when I came to the board meeting and asked, some of the board members were concerned that it was left-leaning. And they said then they'd have to run Fox News. And I say, right on, bring it on. Show an hour of Fox News. But let's show world news. Because Fox News is controlled by contributors and what do you call, it's bought advertisement controlled news. Whereas Democracy Now! Every 3 to 5 minutes tells you something that's occurring around the globe. I don't feel like giving you an education about what's happening around the world is left-leaning. I think it's more important now for people to know what's going on more than 60 miles of their radius. I think it's really important to know that America, it's my opinion, is getting their gross national product that we sell to other countries. We have a huge military budget to build fighter jets, bombers, bomb-making equipment or whatever. I mean, drones that drop weapons. I'm very concerned that there's a lot of money being made that makes the Wall Street look good, and we have our tax dollar that you and I pay. And I don't think everybody's aware of where your tax dollar is spent. And this year, everybody got a little boon when they were asked to stay home. They got a little bit of extra money that may or may not be going away. It's so needed because so many people are out of work. And that doesn't mean there's another job because you lost one. It means everybody's applying for jobs. It is an opportunity for people to maybe want to work in healthcare or volunteer or do other things if they can get by. But it's an opportunity that there are other jobs created when you're not working there. Look at all the people that are having to do testing. So there might be some medical courses you could take online to help you be able to be an assistant, I think it's a certified nurse assistant. CNA might be a class you could take and maybe get yourself, because we're going to be testing for a long time. This is the new normal. And we really need to believe that for at least 6 months, we're going to have serious contraction of our movement. We're not going to be having a lot of indoor events. And we're asking people to socialize outside restaurants where the air is blowing by and we're not getting so many particulates. They say if you just get a minor breath of them, you have a less of a response. And so if you're literally talking to somebody for 20 or 30 minutes up close, you're getting more if they're sharing the virus. So this is the reason we're asking people, because it's the one thing when we all say, what can I do about it? There's one thing you can do. Make sure that you have more than one of these masks, because you don't need to get to town and find out you don't have it. Make sure that you have one in your car, in your pocket, in your house at your front door in case somebody comes to deliver something. And at first I didn't quite know, but it has a little bendy thing for the nose. So I have to admit, at first I was wearing them upside down till I discovered that. But you want to pick these up anytime they're offered to you. If you're really desperate, you can grab one at the hospital. I do think it's really important that we all have these masks now as part of our going anywhere. And we need to wear them when we're passing people in halls or on hikes or walks. So think about that. Now, I do love to encourage people to go for a walk. I always have a picture, and now we found one with people with masks on. So if you're wearing one outside and you're hiking, you can just put it on while you're passing people, and then you can take it off while you're hiking. But it really is something we all have to agree to wear. Now here I have a picture of one that's kind of like fashionable, and I want to tell you that if you Google, there's many different ways you can make them, or you could just keep scarves in the car, like Deborah Burke, isn't that her name? She has always got a scarf around her neck, and she could always pull that up if she had to in an emergency. So I like to encourage you to realize that it's the new normal. I know I say that. I'm trying to subliminally message some of the people that feel like this is the flu. I still have people tell me that. And it really surprises me that people don't believe that this is serious. 100 years ago, 50% of the population was affected by that terrible 1918 flu. 50% of the people died. Okay, so we got this, came to our continent in January, and we had messages telling us that it was getting out of hand in Europe, and we didn't take heed and tell everybody to mask up and social distance. We did shut down for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks around the globe. There were places that shut down, and we had really good results. In Siskiyou County, because the streets were barren, everybody stayed home. We all learned how to make different meals and cook and stretch things in the kitchen, and we really made a difference. I did see that we made a difference. And now, with all the opening, we're also seeing that the numbers are exponentially rising. And a lot of people are getting out of the city to come to areas that are not so infected, but they're not being respectful of our area. I see many people in town without masks, and I kind of get mad at them because it's kind of like they're saying it's a hoax. And I'm saying, when you have a hospital that calls for 4 refrigerated vans so you can put the bodies in, there's not the flu. Never in my life. I worked at public health for 7 years. I know about the flu, and I know they have vaccinations every year, but never did the flu have so many people dying. And for people to be in denial about that, I don't know how to educate them. They're getting different facts, and my answer is, please, I don't care if you want to watch Fox News, but get your news from more than one source. And I know that there are people that have taken to this administration has a TV show, and they have a radio show, and they have a podcast, and they give people subliminal messaging that this is all going to go away. And it sounds really good to think that we're just going to wake up and the 100-degree weather made it go away. But the science and the reality is it's not going to go away. And herd immunity is very far off. And what we're finding about the herd immunity concept is, even if people don't have death symptoms and go to the hospital, they're still having residual breathing effect. It's affecting the lungs, and it's something we haven't found out. With the flu, we've found different chemicals and medicines and Theraflus and whatever you get that can reduce your symptoms and give you relief. We can't find things to give us relief from this right now. So we have to try and keep from catching it. And not only keep from catching it where you feel like my immunity is strong and I don't need it, I'm not sick. The reality is you could be a carrier. And because we're not doing enough testing, because we didn't just start testing in the beginning and find out where the pods were and isolate them like they did in other countries, for the non-believers, I say to you, look at the other countries. I don't think I have a graph today, John. I didn't send you a graph, but you can Google it. Every country went up and came down, and we haven't yet. And it was like 2 weeks after the Oklahoma rally. And my girlfriend who lives in Oklahoma, I said, hey, please be extra careful right now, because she's not a believer. She's my very good friend for 20 years, and she does not believe that this is serious. I don't want to spend my whole show talking about the virus. But we did see after the Tulsa rally, big outburst. We saw all the people on the Florida coast going, it's now an outburst. We have evidence, visual evidence, that not wearing a mask and not social distancing will continue to roll through this community. And what my concern is, we all know somebody that works in the medical field. Not only do they need the PPEs, they need the bodies. We need people to work these stations and take care of these sick people. So if we can just spread it out so the hospital doesn't have everybody show up on the same day, like in Houston, this doctor stood there and he said, I got 10 people need to be on a respirator and I only have 3. I have to wait for somebody to die, or I have to choose who has the best likelihood of living. That's a scary thought, that a doctor has to make a choice who gets a respirator. I'm telling you, this is serious. Get the news from more than one source, and let's all be responsible neighbors and friends and coworkers and family members, and let's just... Okay, I'll stop. So what I want to talk to you about is one of the things we're noticing. I found this and I wanted to bring this up with you, is we're online more than ever right now. Millions of people are going online to stay productive, to work from home, and they're trying to stay connected. And we're trying to flatten the curve of COVID-19 pandemic. We're putting the internet itself under enormous pressure. At home, a neighborhood internet connection is like a highway. Think of it this way. The more traffic being sent back and forth, the longer it takes for data to get where it needs to go. And traffic worldwide is up 35% in the last 2 weeks. From CenturyLink, they were talking about this. Demand is highest in the evening right now. The one thing I wanted to say, people need a faster connection, may consider paying a higher price, or they might try and find times of the day to use the internet. Now, advocates say it's a problem that needs addressing sooner than later because more and more people are working remotely. But in the meantime, there's one thing we can all do. I want you to think about this, like take your phone and look at it, take your computer and look at it, and go to your Safari or Bing or wherever you get your Wi-Fi, and check to see if your history has a lot of open pages. Because if you have a lot of open pages, I see I still have my mask and it's dangling around looking silly. If you have a lot of pages open, it's slowing you down. And the same thing with not only in your internet, but also if you click on your phone and see how many different applications you're using. So if we can all consciously, every evening, close every file that's open and close all of your internet searches that you're not going to go back to, I think we can maybe speed up our neighborhoods. So it's just an idea to consider going on at different times if you're noticing that there's a lag time or buffering. Whenever my son, who's a geek, he'd be with me and I'm like, why isn't it going faster? And he'd say, wait for it. That was what he always said, wait for it. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that idea. I want to remind you right now that we're all going a little stir crazy trying to stay home and not socialize, but that doesn't mean we can't get out and about. So I want to remind you and remember to be a tourist in your own town. If your family is making sandwiches for lunch, put them in a bag or a picnic basket. I think picnics are gonna come back. Used to have a picnic basket in the car, and it's still not a bad idea to have something that you can put your leftovers in, because a lot of times you might pick up a meal and have a picnic. You need to have a way to have those. A picnic basket is a good idea to have in the car. So anyway, take your sandwiches and find a park or a hike. And that was one of the reasons I like to encourage people to find the inlets and outlets on the Pacific Crest Trail, because that trail that runs 750 miles across the state of California, maybe more miles, that trail, that Pacific Crest Trail, was built clearly and fully with the intention of providing phenomenal views. So all along the hike, there's places where you just have the most amazing panorama. So you don't have to take your tent and camp out. You can just find the inlets and outlets, like in Ashland, it's up at the ski park, and here it's at Craig View. There might be other places where you can park and just take a walk on the trail and take a picnic and find a spot to sit on a rock and just breathe the smell of pine. And up here, it's beautiful. Our air is so clear where we live, and the water is so good. We're very fortunate, which is why a lot of people are coming here to hike and camp and ride their bikes. And we do have a lot of wide open spaces, and everybody's welcome, but please wear a mask. It's just the one thing I would ask. Okay, and if you come into our town, all of the towns have a like a local visitors guide bureau, like a what's it called downtown where you go in and you get all the brochures? Visitors center, I guess.
Yeah.
They have a name. Anyway, so I want to remind you that if you pick those up, there's little hikes that you might not find on your Google Maps. And if you're in Medford or Ashland, they have them also there. Reading has wonderful little maps if you go in. But take the extra 30 minutes and find your Chamber of Commerce, because they have all the businesses, all of the recreational activities are on file there. Now, I had an idea when I saw that there were talking about drive-ins. I had said our local theater had closed, and I said, isn't there a way for them to take the side wall and let people park and maybe tune in their radio or their phone to it? So you might be able to think about in a neighborhood, if somebody has a garage door that's flat, maybe you guys could find a way, I don't know, to do neighborhood little drive-ins that everybody could sit outside and the kids could watch. That was just one idea. One thing else I wanted to show you, because this is the time of year when all the melons are coming in season. And, oops, I'm not showing that picture very well, but it's hard to know which way to raise it. Anyway, all the melons will be starting to come in season, and so you can make wonderful salads, like a salad of all the different melons. And then I saw this idea. I told you about it last week, and I said, oh, where's that picture? And so what they did was they took watermelon and cut it in squares, and they put salt on it. And they said sprinkling salt on a melon is a Southern tradition. So some people know this. It's genius. We'd like to say thank you. It's no wonder this custom had a staying power. Small doses of salt magnifies the melon's sweetness. So there's different kinds of salt. Coarse salt is easier to pick up with your fingers and sprinkle. It gives a gentler flavor than table salt. So there's red wine salt, smoky salt, white wine salt, vanilla. You want to add, let's see, you will want to keep this additive slightly sweet. Sprinkle it on hand for melons and popcorn. Okay. So anyway, it tells you how to make that melon salt. I just saw that and I just thought it was something I wanted to share. As we're enjoying our gardens, I'm having a terrible time with the rabbits. So I'm gonna call my garden McGregor. So I'm discouraged. But yesterday I visited a couple of the community gardens, and I was so impressed at how absolutely gorgeous and the green thumbs. And I think all of us can do something. And don't forget, you can do things in a little pot on your porch. Or they say if you have a big living room or something with a window, you could even grow lemon trees and they smell lovely. Just a little one, like what do you call when they're, what do you call a tree that's dwarf? You can have a dwarf plant. But I just want to encourage everybody. It's a good feeling to grow something. I mentioned on my last show, grab a sweet potato, put toothpicks in it and put it in a ball jar, and it'll give you wonderful foliage. So you can have a tiny bit of green, and it's not a lot of work to water. Just keep the jar full. So my time might be running out a little bit. I want to remind you that I had a picture as kids are home and toys are getting broken and you walk across the room and step on a Lego or something. I want to show you a picture that I saw when I was in Seattle a few years ago. And it was the construction of a all recycled toys or broken things from a house. John, do you have that picture? I think it was a dog, maybe. I can't remember what it was. Can I see? And a duck. And if you look at these carefully, they took all kinds of things that were broken in pieces, and you could get creative or have your kids do something creative. Did I show you guys that really wonderful? I was watching an interview on TV. I only have a few minutes, but if I can find this, I want to share it. There was or I can describe it. There was behind this person that was talking, there was this hand like this. And it was made out of soda pop cans and duct tape. And darn, I wish I could find it quick. And I should have sent it to John to show. And it was so like you could give your kids the recycle and some duct tape and see what creative thing they could come up with. Or maybe glue them all together and make something to put on your front lawn. It was just an idea I wanted to share with you. Now, I bring all these things I want to talk about, but the time always runs so short. So today's a very important day. And did I bring one sign? Today's a very important day. this is the day that they're taking John Lewis across the Pettus Bridge. And John Lewis is so important to us about voting rights. And not everybody knows the history of how many years he's been marching to bring the vote to the people of the country. And I'm not talking about people that aren't citizens. I'm talking about people that live here deserve to vote, and they deserve for their vote to count. And right now there's some things happening where voters' names are being taken off the roster. So I want to remind you that you can go to the computer internet for your state and you can look and see, is your name listed as a voter, to make sure you haven't been taken off the rolls. It's so important. And I want to remind you, when it comes time to vote, whether you receive it in the mail or you pick it up at the ballot place, the polling place, that you can fill that out and you can tear off a barcode that has a number on it and you can call and see if your vote was tallied. Now, one of the things they do when you do this mail-in ballot, they have you sign your name. And when that ballot gets to the county clerk, she's going to compare your signature with year after year after year. They keep the records. I've worked in the polling place, and you can see the signature from the year before to see if it matches. And what's important that I want to tell you right now, we're having a real serious slowdown of the mails. And I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist, but I believe they're doing that on purpose to say that, well, they're going to have to wait to count the votes that come in the mail. And I do know that sometimes if you've ever tracked a package and it got to a post office near you, it accidentally got sent around the country. And I'm not sure if they're just trying to up their statistics or it's a mistake or a computer read the cage wrong. But sometimes things don't travel in a straight line from Sacramento to Northern California and or wherever the destination. So I'd like to encourage everybody to consider this. Everybody across the nation, I want you to consider, when you fill out your ballot, you actually drive it to a polling place and drop it in the slot. Your signature will be compared with what they have on record. If you want your vote to count and not get lost, it needs to go to the polling place. I am adamant that it has to go to the polling place to be counted in an expeditious way and not be lost in the mail. So please consider that the polling places, I'd like for the county clerk to consider, instead of 12 people being inside, that you have 12 people spread across 12 lines where people are collecting that ballot that people turn in. I don't know how we're going to solve this, but it's like hitting fastballs, the way the administration does things to try and, I just can't understand that our vote could be, anyway, that's what makes today so important. Thanks for listening. My name's Therese Swenson. I'm here at the Siskiyou Media Council Alvarado studio, where we have a lovely studio with a green screen. So you could like be a yoga instructor and you could come in and do yoga and make it look like you're on the beach in Hawaii. So please go to SiskiyouMediaCouncil.org. Find out about us. It tells all about how to get involved or how to just submit a video. If you have something entertaining, or, we could maybe pick something each month and say, send in your America's Funniest video we could have somebody, if one person wanted to do that, you could collect them and put them in a stream. I'm not technical, so I wouldn't invite you to send them to me, but there are people that are really good with computers and editing, and I want to invite you to come up creatively with something where everybody sends it to you and you create a 30-minute stream. Okay, my time's up. Therese Swenson, Siskiyou Media Council, Weed, California, but I also do a show in Ashland that runs on, both of my shows run on Monday nights at 7:30 and Saturday at noon, but sometimes if they don't have content, you might see my COVID updates poked in, or I have a show called Places to Go that you might want to just see visual, the front image of all these places to get food in southern Siskiyou County. Anyway, thanks. Talk to you more later. Therese Swenson.